Hey everyone, Harry here to talk about the sudden sad end to Hunter Biden's tax case in Los Angeles. All right, those of you who've heard me talk about Hunter Biden before know my feelings about the case. He got a raw deal. The DOJ and David Weiss had already decided here's how we should handle Hunter. And it was similar to how you would handle other people in Hunter's shoes. And just to remind you of those shoes, he was in the depths of a drug addiction to crack cocaine. He didn't pay taxes for a couple years, but then paid them all back. He bought a gun, said he wasn't using drugs when he was, at least during that period. And initially, David Weiss, the holdover U.S. attorney from the Trump administration, said, okay, here's the deal we'll make for him. He can plead out to misdemeanors on the tax stuff, and we'll do a diversion agreement on the gun stuff, which I'm here to tell you would never be charged by DOJ. And they weren't going to charge it here. The diversion agreement was just keep your nose clean for a year and we'll just and that charge will go away. But it's generally the case that lying on the form when you get a firearm isn't charged unless there's something else serious that happens, and usually unless somebody commits a crime with that fraudulently acquired firearm. Okay. Then everything got caught up in the and completely mangled in the maw of politics. The Republican representatives in Congress thought Weiss had given Hunter way too sweet a deal. All of this was driven at the time by their wanting to go after Biden. And of course, the air has now leaked out of that balloon because Biden's not running for president. So the whole sort of political overhang has gone away. But in the meantime, David Weiss heard the message, and the plea agreement that he had signed off on unraveled in court. It's like a year ago for reasons really having nothing to do with Biden or the U.S. Attorney's Office. It was just a sort of fluke, some detail that the district court properly noticed and said, oh, wait a second, and then everything fell apart. But that's when politics then entered the picture, and what was going to be the diversion and two misdemeanors became two tough felony trials. The first for the gun, and that happened in Delaware a few months ago, and it was brutal for Biden. The witnesses included Beau Biden, his brother's wife, with whom he was romantically involved after Beau Biden had died, his daughters, his girlfriend. Really tough stuff, not because of the lie on the form, but just exposing the degrading lifestyle that he had succumbed to as part of being about drugs. But he was convicted. I mean, the whole point is the facts were there, but that's not how the DOJ would treat this kind of case. But the facts were there. And even though his lawyer, Abby Lowell, tried to make a big deal about supposed dirty dealing by the DOJ and withdrawing it, that once that fell apart at the district court level, there's really no way to try to put the pieces back together. And, you know, the law is if then the U.S. Attorney's Office or David Weiss, who was appointed special counsel, got that authority from Merrick Garland. If that then happened, there was, there's the fact that the deal had fallen apart and politics might have come into it, that just doesn't give any kind of avenue for dismissing the case for Biden. They tried. So anyway, there was this brutal trial in Delaware, and now the felony tax counts, two of them, were set to go to trial in Los Angeles yesterday. And they were going to involve the same evidence more or less because it has to do with his state of mind and his drug use, etc. And a shocker happened in court where Biden decided to enter a guilty plea, except first decided to play a finesse that was really a long shot. But it's an interesting legal point, so let me just tell you about it. There is in the law something called an Alford plea. The Supreme Court in the Alford case said it complies with the Constitution, but what happens is the defendant pleads guilty, acknowledges the evidence is there to convict him, but continues to protest innocence and bring certain claims on appeal. And that's what Biden wanted to do. DOJ does not like Alford pleas, and normally, except in the most unusual circumstances, says you can't do them because even though they're constitutional under the Alford decision, the federal rules, but also just the moral mission of the U.S. attorney is to really make a pleading defendant recognize what they've done, that they're guilty, etc. Try to eat your cake and have it too by saying, okay, they have the evidence on me, but I'm innocent. That really foils or greatly takes away from the impact of the conviction that the department has tried so hard, has now assembled and put together. So when Biden's lawyer, when a jury was about to be selected in the case, stood up and said they want to do an Alford plea, there was bedlam in the courtroom in a Los Angeles morning and a recess, and the judge already had expressed that the department is against it. But a judge can still accept it. It was up to the judge. But the judge had expressed some doubt about whether he could or would accept it in his discretion. And they took a recess. And when the recess was over, Biden came back and just pleaded straight to the sheet, as it said. In other words, no deal from the government, no concession, just I'm guilty, Your Honor, and not an Alford plea. I'm guilty, Your Honor. I know I'm guilty. I'm not proclaiming my innocence, sort of the 9 yeses in the litany that a defendant pleading guilty goes through. So, an utter surrender. I plead guilty to everything with no deal, and it'll just be up to the court how to sentence. The guidelines are tough here. That is the sentencing kind of possible range. But the court can do as it likes. And it's going to be a very interesting sentencing where the lawyer will say, look, he's been clean all his life and look what he's done in the last several years. And he's put his life back together and this was all drugs and he has no criminal record. He should have probation. And the DOJ is going to say, it's a serious crime. Look how other people are treated. Look what the guidelines say. And they're going to go for a substantial, I would say, maybe couple year sentence. So that's the final battle in the Hunter Biden drama. But the big both development and surprise came yesterday with the sudden announcement first of this Alford plea. I got, 88 calls because it's a form of criminal. What's an Alford plea, et cetera. And that's what it is. But then, wow, just the sort of abject surrender. And what Hunter Biden said is, I just can't put my family through this again. He was really critical of the prosecution, and they've really come to, bitter relationships, which doesn't augur well for what they're going to recommend at sentencing. And, he said they were looking to just totally drag me and my family through the mud. I won't put my family, especially his daughters, through that again. I was totally surprised and caught off guard in Delaware in the gun trial, how vicious they were about the evidence. And I just can't do it. There's only one thing left that I can do to spare my family, and I'm going to do that, which is plead, guilty to the sheet. So there you have it. And of course, then now that it's done, nobody really cares. The Republicans on the Hill was all about President Biden, not about Hunter Biden. So that's the kind of strange, ironic anticlimax of the whole twisted tale. But man, oh man, what a turn of events over many years for Hunter Biden. And I have to say, it's, in my judgment, the DOJ was overzealous and gave him harsher treatment than they would have another defendant in his shoes. And you got to wonder if that has a lot to do with his last name. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.